Okay. Gary, you gonna tell me when?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think we are. Yeah.
Okay, welcome to what we thought would happen. I'm gonna try and do Boston accent. This next guy, this fucking guy. I know this guy. We used to be on a baseball team together in Boston, and I know that because there's a photo of us. We both have the same fucking mullet. That's how far back I go with this son of a bitch. And then we was in the Harvard Square, Catch a Rising Star, and we got Robin Horton giving us some advice unsolicited. He gave us our marching orders that led to nothing. And you know something? I didn't learn a thing then, and I still haven't. But you know something? This fucking guy, I love this fucking guy. He and I went through puberty together. That's how long I know this guy. Yeah, we went through puberty.
I knew
and
her
puberty.
when she got her buds.
Oh, jeez, and I still got him, but I got him on my back now. This fucking guy. I love you. Dana Gould, I'm so happy you're here. And also Daniel, who I love, is a big fan of yours.
That'll end.
No,
in actual time.
Daniel, we were talking about some show that you guys were on. You first met Dana.
Oh yeah,
What show was that?
I hosted for you down in Irvine. It was Stewart a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was like great shows. And the Sunday show was like just rough. They were never letting any of us have it.
This is the new Irvine Club or the old Irvine?
The newer one.
Yeah, the newer one.
The
I
shopping
remember
mall
that. I remember
one.
that. Yeah.
And
to quote the late Drake Sather, that club, you can't see the back wall because of the curvature of the earth.
yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. I was thinking about Drake the other day too.
But you packed it. That was my first time ever there, and I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna fill this room all the time." But the last audience was rough, and I remember we shook at the end. You finished, and right before I'm like, "Dana Gould, everybody!" You shook my hand, and you go, "It's like pulling teeth." And I was like, "Oh, I love that!" Like kind of shitting on the audience in front of the audience. It's so good.
Man.
I loved it.
Yeah. It was the old Lenny Bruce. It's like performing for Mount Rushmore, Roosevelt, Lincoln.
That's so good. Did you watch the Joan Rivers roast on Comedy Central? Ever?
No, I don't ever watch Comedy
The
Central.
woman is dead.
I know,
Daniel.
but
He
Gilbert
doesn't think so.
Gilbert Gottfried had the best like roast of her, and then she came up for the rebuttal. And my favorite thing about her was she was like, "Open your fucking eyes, the audience is leaving." Like, I was like, I love shitting on the audience in front of it.
I wrote on one of those roasts with Gilbert, and he's just going down and he's very like, you know, in real life he was very soft spoken and very quiet and timid, and he goes, "Yeah, I think I need maybe one more cunt joke."
That's my favorite. I loved Gilbert. You've met everybody though, right?
Well, I've been around a long time, but the thing with Gilbert was we were in a green room. Remember the Sunday comics on Fox? Yeah, we were both on that, and we were in the dressing room. I just met her. Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. I was a big fan, and I mentioned Dwight Fry, who's a character actor from 1930s horror movies.
Oh gosh.
And he was like, "Dwight Fry," and because we both have that like obsessive love of old horror movies, and that was it. We were friends for life.
Yeah.
We were just friends for life. We talked for 4 hours that day.
Yeah.
Always stayed in touch. Always sending each other weird stuff. It was just great. It was really
So
great.
who was Dwight Fry?
Dwight Fry played Renfield in the Bela Lugosi Dracula, and played the hunchbacked assistant in the original Frankenstein as well.
Wow.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah, that was him.
I love that.
He was a great character actor and a lot of great stuff in the 30s and 40s.
Did you watch Demeter? Or is that
I
the
did.
movie?
I did.
There was like a quick homage.
Yes, there was.
And I kind of loved that little.
Both The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield, great ideas.
Renfield was funny.
It was funny. I wish the movies had been better.
Yeah,
It could have been a lot better.
I wanted more of Nicolas Cage and that guy, and less of Aquafina being a conflicted police one.
Correct. But I stand by the funniest is Dracula Dead and Loving It. I can't get over that because they do it scene for scene, shot
The
for
great
shot.
Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
With the hilarious Stephen Weber.
I've never seen that.
Hilarious.
I've never seen that.
It's the best. It's way funny.
High Anxiety
But
is
who's-
my favorite.
Who's the actor
Mel
who played
Brooks.
the Renfield in that? He's super famous.
Peter McNichol.
That guy.
Yeah, or Peter Nichols or Peter McNichol.
He nailed
He was
it.
great. He was great.
Oh wow.
I spent a lot of time with Mr. Brooks a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about it. What were you doing?
We wrote a movie.
Yeah.
together.
Amazing.
Yeah. I got nothing but nice things to say about him.
Yeah.
He's great.
What's going to happen with the movie? Do you guys know?
No, I don't think it's ever going to get made. But
did you meet Ann? Wait, when did Ann?
no, Ann had passed away.
Okay.
But he was. I mean, he really is. At the time we worked together, he was 92, and hey, he's great. I mean, I was just like, he was just great. He was. He only yelled at me once, and he wasn't yelling at me. He was yelling about this thing with his son from his first marriage was driving him bananas about something, because he has 3 children from his first marriage, and then Max he has with Anne Bancroft. But he has 4 kids. You don't really hear about the 3. Yeah, and they're all adults and parents. They're all in their 50s and 60s. And his son was driving him crazy, and he was like, "Do you ever do this with your kid? Would your daughter ever do this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is." So he wasn't yelling at me, but he was yelling. And I was like, "Oh, this is what it's like when Mel Brooks yells at you."
Yeah.
Oh,
That's crazy.
But
that's
no,
amazing, though.
He is a really terrific person.
Yeah.
He really is. Yeah.
Someone like that.
Were you okay with what he did to you? I mean, like in the basement?
Sure.
I mean, well, I know we don't have to talk about
Well, me
it
at
here.
that age.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Definition of cute. And from the back?
Yeah.
Forget it.
Okay.
Next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. No, he was great. He was really great. It's nice. I just try to focus on the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I had a few days writing with Penny Marshall.
What?
How was that?
Yeah, great. I mean, she also is very funny. She had cancer and
I'm already laughing.
I know if that wasn't enough to get me to sign on. But she was just really funny. She was mostly worried about her dogs, which made me like her. And her dogs are named after basketball players.
Oh, funny. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And Gary Marshall is her brother.
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought it was her father.
I've always thought that too.
Have you not seen that scene in Hocus Pocus that they play together?
No.
With their husband and wife?
No.
No.
He's dressed like Satan, and the witches think he's real Satan. So they're kissing his ass and loving on him. And then curlers in her hair and bathrobe, Penny Marshall comes in, and she's the jealous wife. Get your tart ass out of my house. Like that kind of shit.
And this is the movie about Bette Midler?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Written by my neighbor,
Ooh.
Mick Garris.
Really?
Jeez.
Does he have any of their old costumes I could borrow?
I know you could ask him.
I want to know.
But he's also a giant horror movie writer director.
How
And he
fantastic.
wrote Hocus Pocus. It was the original. It got changed, but it is what he wrote. But he's one of these guys, a lovely guy. We met through people, and then I was like, "Where do you?" I live around the corner from you. He's my neighbor. I see him all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
It's a timeless movie somehow.
no, it's true. I think they're making a sequel or
They
a
did.
Broadway
It's
thing.
all right. It's got poor lighting.
Oh, right. Oh,
they spend an hour in a CVS, so they've recreated CVS lighting, and I'm like,
that's not
and this century, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica
That's not
Parker, they need 90s lighting.
Yeah.
he wrote. So he also writes novels, and I go, God, how'd you write a novel? I kind of want to write one, but I'm so afraid it'll suck. He goes, well, the first one I wrote it. And I didn't know if it was garbage or it was okay. So I sent it to Steven. I sent it to Steve. And he read it. And I goes, Steve King. And he read it.
Jeez, I love that.
Okay.
Jack Benny has a long bit about why he never wrote a book.
Oh, really?
He finally wrote it. When he read it, he's like, it's not good enough. So I gave it to my good friend George Burns. He's like, it's not good enough. He's like, is it because we're too close? So I gave it to my wife Mary. She says it's no good. I go, is it because we're too close? And he just keeps going down the line. And he finally decides it is good. I just don't have good friends. It's so beautiful. I love it.
That's really good.
That's fantastic.
Have you ever read Leslie Nielsen's autobiography?
No.
Read it. It'll make you think you can write a book.
But I love
Sure.
him.
Every line is a joke. There's
Yeah.
not one line
I've
that's
heard
wasted.
a couple of. I read a story about Priscilla Presley in 1967, on the set of Girls, Girls, Girls. And Leslie Nielsen had the fart machine then.
Oh my
That he was
God.
still goofing on and hit on her.
Wow.
Hit on Elvis Presley's wife on the set of an Elvis Presley movie.
Yeah.
Balls.
But
Yeah.
Guy's got balls.
he was so
God,
handsome.
yeah. I thought you were going to say he did it all with a fart machine.
You can have this on an unlimited supply, lady.
Well, I mean,
There's
depending
more
on,
where this came from.
I'm sure living with Elvis, it sounded exactly like a fart machine. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, not at all. And that's what killed him.
I was so, he was so handsome though.
But you know about the
young
undigested.
Leslie- What's that?
You know about the undigested? Because he was an opioid
you're saying
freak.
Elvis.
Yeah, he was an opioid freak towards the end, and he had a lot of
yeah. He had the John Wayne thing where there's like,
impacted.
yeah, there's like tons of red meat and shit.
In your colon.
Yeah. That was the thing with John Wayne, right?
In your ear, not where you'd think, but in your colon.
Also, he got cancer because of the American government, which is hilarious.
Oh, yes. Because,
John
yes.
Wayne, full of contradictions. Draft dodger in World War II.
Yeah.
Ditched service in World War II.
Yeah.
Then made a film called The Conqueror that they shot in Nevada, downwind of a nuclear test site.
With Agnes
Right.
Moorehead.
And the government went, "Nah, you're fine. There's no problem at all." And everybody got cancer.
Yeah. Agnes
Damn.
Moorehead was in that as
Yeah.
well, correct? Yeah. They all got
Jeez.
I
I love Agnes.
Yeah.
Fallout.
Too.
Yeah. And there's a famous, I think it was one of the Mankwitzes was the director or the writer or something like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, if you worked with barrels, if you made barrels, your last name was Cooper.
Oh,
If
really?
you were a blacksmith or a metalsmith, your last name was Smith.
Correct.
Huh.
Moorhead.
Wait a minute.
I'm taking a dramatic sip.
I love it.
Moorhead.
I'm still thinking on it.
This is when we need a sponsor because we could take a
love you.
break. You've always been interested in like horror movies and stuff?
Yeah.
Like forever.
Yeah, more before I was into comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say something to give some of Dana's backstory. He has two older brothers.
4.
Oh, you had 4? God, I don't
older
even know.
brothers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, because I think of things in photos. I
Sure,
thought you
sure,
and your
sure,
two older.
yeah.
You're the 5th.
Yeah.
You have 4 older brothers,
And a younger sister.
but they weren't interested in any of this. You were kind of, you had to influence yourself as to which. Yeah.
They did like horror movies. That's how I saw them. And at the time I was growing up, they were really into the show called Dark Shadows.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it. But they were all athletic athletes and hunters and fishermen, and I wasn't into any of that.
Huh. So did your dad think like that you were?
My dad thought I was gay, and when it became obvious in my young adulthood that I was not, really couldn't square it. Like couldn't understand.
You don't like to hunt?
Yeah, I didn't want to hunt, didn't
but
want to fish, didn't play sports, wasn't good in sports, wasn't interested in sports.
But you like men in capes?
I was mad for men, especially Liberace.
Yes.
But it wasn't gay, and he just couldn't make it work.
I was ready to accept you.
Yeah, I was ready to go for it. And he has gay relatives, and they're well, he's okay. Like, well, they're all okay, Dad. You just don't know them.
So damn sweet. I had been hearing. I was like really psyched to meet. I met your dad at your wedding.
Yeah.
What a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
92. He's
He's not gonna be an asshole now.
Imagine that guy drunk at 40, and you know,
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Where
that's
did
what
y'all
my-
meet? Y'all met when? Where?
In Boston, we were comics.
You were still in Emerson when we met.
Yeah. We were
children.
children doing stand up.
Yeah.
When you got into entertainment, was horror anything you wanted to do, or you were already into comedy at that point?
My theory was I was going to become I was going to go do stand up and become a famous actor. I was going to become a famous movie star.
Sure.
I would become so famous that they would let me
Yes.
write movies for myself.
Fantastic.
And then I could write a horror movie and be in it. Yeah. It was the most circuitous way of becoming a writer you could imagine.
Right. Well, I was in one of the first films I was ever cast in and not cut out of was a short film that
Oh, yeah, Night on Java Island.
Can we have a link to it? For
Yeah, I can
I
give it
would
to you.
love
Yeah,
that. I
it's
would love
you,
that.
me, Kathy Griffin, and Brian Posehn, directed by Troy Miller.
Yeah.
What is it called?
A Night on Java Island. It's a cute little movie.
That was fun, and it was very noir. And that I think that was when too. I remember thinking that Dana and I both like had this sensibility of the 40s, like that we should have been there then, or I don't know. I still do. That's all I watch.
I've wanted to be a closeted adult male my entire life, and it was like that's when I would have shined. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just love him.
You and Lionel Atwill.
See,
Oh yeah,
the back door.
You would have just been a confirmed bachelor.
That's right.
Do you?
My mom used to date those. And didn't know she got fixed up.
Charles Nelson Riley. What is it? He's just a confirmed bachelor.
Yeah,
loves an ascot.
Why hasn't he ever met anyone? I mean, God, I remember there was an interview with Liberace, and they said, "What kind of woman are you looking for?" Well, she has to be nice, just nice, really. I was like,
I was a 9-inch penis.
Yeah. I was a writer on a show, a woman with a fat, long clitoris. I was a writer on a show called Stark Raving Mad, which starred Tony Shalhoub and Neil Patrick Harris.
wow.
And it was Neil Patrick Harris's, I think it was first show after Doogie Howser. He was a young man, not yet out.
Oh,
Correct.
And he was doing press. And I happened to be in the interview with him, just like we were in his dressing room going over the script or something, and they came in to interview me. He goes, "Oh, just stay." And all right, I'll stay. And so the woman asked him, this is the early aughts or late 90s, early aughts. What the perfect woman would be. And he said, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, who, fun fact, doesn't have a vagina. And behind the interviewer, I shook him off like a baseball pitcher shaking off a call from a catcher. Like, well, if she was a person.
Oh God, that's funny. Shit.
What was it? What you directed the?
I was just a writer on it.
Oh no, the movie that Laura was in. This.
No, I just wrote it and was in it. It's like 2 minutes
great.
long.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
It's just
how was Laura as an actress?
Well,
Oh jeez.
This whole podcast has been leading up to this intervention.
Stop trying. I know.
Stop acting.
Well, I still always try. And in fact, when I did a Curb with Albert Brooks playing his girlfriend.
Oh, man.
And the first thing I said was, I might have to put my hand on your knee so that I don't get cut out. And he was so funny. Like in a second, he goes, I might like that. I mean,
he's brutally funny.
Yeah.
Lisa Kudrow.
I would be so intimidated.
I don't know. I think because I had just had my brain aneurysm.
Sure.
Sorry,
months
we have
before.
to drink every time Laura mentions the aneurysm.
I know, because then I feel like, what the f- do I have to lose? And I was intimidated, but then I wound up giving him a line, and he wound up giving me a line. At the end, we were in bed.
Did he know you ahead of time?
I don't think so. Or maybe he did.
Well,
maybe
because
through Louis.
he's friends with Janine.
Yeah, I know. And I think I met him with Louis was doing a little animated thing with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so anyway, at the end, we were doing a scene of watching his funeral. That's what the episode was about. And I said, well, if you want, why don't I'll try and get near you, and you can say, can we have sex after the funeral? And he said, okay, I'm going to say that. And then he gave me a line, which was when Larry was giving his eulogy and saying that, nobody loves God like this guy, like Albert Brooks. And he said, and you can say, because I was supposed to be a Christian in this sort of, and he said, then you just say, is that true? Did you really convert? But that's what I think later. And so I said, is that true? Did you really convert? And he goes, are you kidding? And we're in bed together. So it was really funny. I suppose that was a high point of my life.
Yeah, no, probably. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
That's as fast and funny as it gets.
Yeah.
It's like
he was so
terrifying.
Funny throughout that episode too. Like even at the end, he was yelling out to John Hamm, like, by the way, Mad Men doesn't hold up. And
that's really good.
Like it's supposed to be correct.
Yes.
And then what was handsome John Hamm's response? Yes, it does. Beauty and comedy.
Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah,
Lisa Kudrow.
Yes, and.
Those are the rules.
Yeah. Lisa Kudrow is her.
Oh, she filmed a movie with Albert Brooks, and they were in a restaurant scene, and every time they have to reset the food and they bring a new plate, he would sing "Happy Birthday" to Lisa. Happy birthday to every time. She's like, by the 9th time, it's not funny, but the 10th time, it's hilarious.
Yep.
Oh man,
He's a great Stern guest. I love Albert Brooks.
Has he been on Stern?
Yeah, he's old school though. I think it's been a minute.
Have you seen the documentary
On him?
Yeah,
No.
There's one on HBO that Rob Reiner made because they went to they've been friends since they were like 10.
Is
that
it
I have
Defending
to
My
see
Life?
It. I haven't seen it. I have to see it. It's almost he was so influential to me. It's almost like I'm almost too close to it.
Did you see? Have you been to the Comedy Museum in Jamestown?
I've not.
So they have when Mel would go visit Carl.
Right.
And every day they have the chairs they would sit in.
You're kidding me.
And the Mel chair, the armrest is like rubbed away from where he would just lean and like lean in to talk to like Carl.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever? Would you imagine yourself ever going in there and sniffing the seat?
Oh, I asked if I could touch the Lucy dress. They looked at me weird after I was in there for too long, but they let me sit in Gary Shandling's chair, his talk show for the Larry Sanders show. They go, well, we don't let everybody do this. But I literally asked if I could sniff Lucy's dress, and they said no.
When I was working with Mr. Brooks, every day at about 2:00, the secretary would go, it's Mr. Reiner.
Wow.
At 2:00, and Mel would pick up the phone. Hello, darling.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love that.
And they would figure out where Mel was going to get dinner and bring it to his house, and they were going to watch TV. It was usually Versailles. And he would get to chicken whatevers. And after the show, after we would work, he would finish up his admin and go to Carl's house. They'd have dinner and watch TV. Mel would go home. He would stay up. Mel would stay up till about 2 a.m. And then, sleep in, get up, go see his grandson in Venice. And then come into work.
Did you meet Carl Reiner at that point?
I never met Carl.
Oh, no.
Never met Carl. I never went to.
But just here.
Because Mel would go to his house.
Oh, yeah.
And
Do you know what they would watch?
Well, whatever they would watch. One of the shows that they did love that Mel actually turned me onto, which is a great show, was called Babylon Berlin. You would love Babylon Berlin.
I do love Babylon Berlin.
Yeah.
I watched the 2 things in front of it too. I think there was the Deutschland. Is that part of that series?
No, I don't know.
Maybe
I
not.
only know Babylon Berlin and Far Away Frankfurt and whatever else is Asanatic.
Oh, yeah.
No, Babylon Berlin. I've seen the 2 seasons. That's all I'm saying.
Could you like lean in and hear Carl on the other end of the receiver? Or were you?
Yeah. No, it was like. Oh yeah.
Oh.
But it was really fun. And Mel said, like Babylon Berlin, you got to follow the story. And he goes, "Oh, Carl doesn't pay attention." And then like he'll like get distracted, and then they'll go, "What's going on now?" And I'll lie. I go, "Oh, he just said they just found out they were brother and sister."
That's amazing.
Oh, I love that. Damn it. I feel like we have to get together regularly and chuckle like that. Well, you and I we're starting to get on a regular schedule, but just to laugh with friends, like it means a lot.
You say Carl Reiner was a huge influence on you? Is that what you? Or Mel?
No, Albert Brooks.
Oh,
Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks, like. I got into comedy because I was obsessed with George Carlin, and I just thought he was the bee's knees. But then, after I moved to San Francisco and was a comedian and was working, I kind of got into Albert Brooks. You get a little bit older, your sense of humor gets a little more sophisticated.
I'm waiting for that moment.
And about what I loved about like in terms of like writing, like Carlin was an editorial. He would write editorials. He would like take a subject, the 10 Commandments, football, whatever it was, and he would literally write on it and hone it, and that would be a piece.
Wow.
But Albert would, and this is came in handy a little bit later, was he would just tell stories about his life and made them funny. Like the funniest thing on his first album is a story he tells about opening for Richie Havens.
Wow. Wait, is it comedy plus 1?
Comedy minus 1. Yeah, comedy minus 1.
Okay.
Right.
You're thinking Carol plus 2.
No.
You're thinking of Godzilla minus 1.
Oh, wait, what the am I thinking of? You remember I've had a brain aneurysm. Am I even here?
Glug.
No, but I was going to say, I think Albert Brooks is a great piano player too.
Oh, really?
Yes, he is. Well, and that album has auditions for the new national anthem.
Right.
Also like,
I love that.
Jail, all your black. Thank you. But he would just tell, and like when we started doing Uncabin, the alternative shows, it was just like come up with new material. You have to do new material. I would just like think like Albert Brooks. All right, how would Albert Brooks tell his story? And and that's really where I became what I do now still in terms of being on stage.
You're a horror fan, but you had comedy like Heroes, and what were you watching before you were a comedian?
I watched, monster movies and Star Trek and Dark Shadows and stuff. But my mom, we watched Cal Burnett and Bob Newhart show. And I loved Barney Miller.
Yeah. Oh man, that was so. I watched that with my mom. It was so smart and ahead of its time in so many ways.
Yeah, and you watch them now because they're on. You can see them on like Antenna TV or MeTV or whatever, and you'll watch them, and they'll just have like a. What's wrong with you? I'm a heroin addict. And then they'll talk and leave. It's just not every scene had a giant blow to it. It's just like, well, Wojo, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have gone to Vietnam. Duke, 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 duke.
Well, gosh, I remember too that I remember there was a scene with couldn't even put my head around what it was, but he was an openly gay character, who was in jail quite a bit. Oh, what do you care? Or what? But that guy, I should know what his name is.
The pre-Paul Lynde.
The stereotypes are so especially if you ever watch Starsky and Hutch or Beretta, the black pimp best friend, which was the gay best friend of the early 70s, the black pimp informant of the cop.
Huggy Bear.
Oh,
Huggy Bear or Rooster.
Yeah.
Which was Beretta's.
Oh, my
with a
God.
hat the size of a beach umbrella.
Yeah. And that big feather.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yo,
God.
sucker. Well, and you're just like, wow, this is a sketch. But it's not.
Oh,
This
my
was-
God.
And I remember when this was on.
Right.
I remember this being on TV.
I remember seeing one of the hardened prostitutes that I hoped would get with Wojciechowicz. Well,
Sure.
Why do you do that? Why do you do anything? She said, well, why do you do anything? Oh, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to do that, though, do you? Are you going to book me or what?
Yeah, I love this woman.
Right.
And remember Inspector Luger? He was just the greatest. The guy that would come, how you doing, Barney?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
How you doing, Wojo? He's in The Manchurian Candidate.
Who did he play?
He's Angela Lansbury's husband in The Manchurian Candidate. Yeah. He was a big actor. James Gregory. He was a big actor.
I love that film. It's beautiful.
Was General Ursus in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Amazing. And
how you doing, Barney? The only good humans are dead, human Barney.
Well, that reminds me of all the people that we've seen on TV as comics were before that were incredible actors in movies.
Right.
I like Walter Matthau in A Face in the Crowd.
Yes.
I saw that again. I don't know.
He gives the speech at the end.
Amazing.
You know what's going to happen to you? No, you're not going to go away. You'll get a show. You'll be around.
Dana, yeah.
And people will say, whatever happened to him? He used to be so big. and behind Lonesome Roads is the next guy that's going to replace him. Right. And it's a young Rip Torn.
Oh my God.
Okay, now I got to see it yet another time.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Lucille Ball's last public appearance is the 89 Oscars, and she comes out with Bob Hope, and it's Walter Matthau that does the intro.
Wow.
And he goes, introducing these next two are the only thing that could get me to come out of Pacoima. And then everybody laughs. He goes, words with a C in it are funny. And then he goes, and then without anything else, he goes, Bob Hope and Lucille Ball. And then they come out. It's the best thing ever. The only thing to get me out of Pacoima.
Wow.
So funny.
There's he's on Carson. I always watch these old Carsons. They're so funny.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting is how they really take their time. It's not like you can tell a story. And, they'll be like, oh, anyway. This is really, but Walter Matthau tells this joke on The Tonight Show. On The Tonight Show, he goes, so these three old guys, Johnny, they're sitting around the retirement home. And the first guy goes, I would be happy if I could just have a good urine. If I could just pee, it would be great. It would be great if I could just pee. And then the second guy goes, for me, it's bowels. If I could just have a good bowel movement, everything would be great. And Johnny goes, yeah. and then he goes, and the third guy, John, goes, every morning, 8 a.m., I pee like Niagara Falls. It's like a fire. It all comes out. Continuous stream. And then, about 8:15, you should see the bowel movement. It's like redwood, like a fallen redwood.
Oh, God.
And the other guy goes, oh, what's the problem? He goes, I don't get out of bed until 9.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, I know it's
beautiful.
but it only works
So
if you just
slow.
pace it out and pace it out.
Yes.
Damn.
And you just see Johnny lose his mind.
They just posted like a few days ago. It's Jack Benny on David Frost.
Oh, wow.
It's an hour-and-a-half interview, and Jack doesn't have a fast delivery ever.
No.
But he's taking so much time on his story.
And Johnny Carson is doing Jack Benny.
Oh my God, yes,
Johnny
100%.
Carson.
Oh.
There's a special. There's a Jack Benny special with him on it where he plays his son. Where Johnny Carson plays Jack Benny's son, and they both do do the thing.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Did you know that at the bottom of Jack Benny's pool in Beverly Hills there was an octopus? So when you looked at the octopus through the water, it would animate the legs. I have met the son of the people who live in the house currently. And I was like, is the octopus still at the bottom of the pool? He's like, yeah, my mom can't wait to get rid of it. I was like, no! Like, no! Like, let me touch it. I want to sniff it. Like, let me get there.
I love those like math of things that like, yeah, he took this and this and that's how he came up with this thing. He took that and that and that's how he came up with this thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's tons of those in music.
Correct. Yeah. Same like the formula. But like Jack, I love the TV show Jack Benny. There's a lot of rehash radio scripts. But have you ever watched his television show?
I know that was the basis of its Gary Shandling show.
Oh,
was.
I had no idea.
Just talking to, because he would break the fourth wall.
Did you write on that show?
No. But my college friend did. Ed Solomon wrote on that show.
Ed Solomon.
He later went on to write Men in Black and Now You See Me, Now You Don't. All these giant movies.
Oh, wow.
Bill and Ted, and like he created all these giant movie franchises.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What is your?
He's done much better than I have.
No.
You've done pretty good though. You're in a lot of like epic TV and movie stuff. I mean, for me, it's The Simpsons. Like you're
beloved.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I don't know any comic that everybody loves Dana.
That's nice.
You were what? You're like season 14.
Simpsons?
Or not
13
that
to
late.
20.
Okay, so the show had been on for a minute and was already zeitgeisty.
Absolutely. It was a 13th season.
Yeah, but you're like to enter a show like that 13 years before, were you just a fan or like how was that?
Of course I was.
Yeah, so
it's awful.
So did they make you do a spec script, or at that point they knew who you were?
I tell people so they hate my guts. George Meyer, who was a Simpsons writer,
Sure.
would often go to Uncabaret. He loved comedy, and he was a fan of mine and knew my work. And he also knew my girlfriend at the time, who was an agent, and then and later my wife, and then she was talking to him and said that I was looking to start writing for various reasons, and I had was on a couple of shows, and then I wasn't, and they asked if I would be interested in coming over to The Simpsons a day a week,
Amazing,
just to punch up jokes. And I was so arrogant at the time. I was like, well, I can only do it Monday or Tuesday because Wednesday I usually go on the road. the ad pompous.
Oh, that's amazing.
They said, okay, come in on Tuesdays, and I did that for 6 months, I think, just working there one day a week. And it took a long time to get the algorithm of the show.
Yeah.
I remember the first joke I got in, and then one day I came in out of my crap, and Mike Scully, who ran the show, said, "Hey, you know what? I think your contract is up." And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'll get out of here." And he just said, "Do you want to just come every day?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'll call your agent." And then he went, "Sucker."
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's a great story.
Yeah.
And everybody should have that story. Like
I'm bubbling up with envy right now.
Really?
I'm thinking, hey, I was at the fucking Uncab too. Why didn't you say, hey, Laura, you come in and punch up? No,
But you weren't as loud as I was. that's why I was funnier. I was louder.
No. That's what I used to say is like, if you are on an audition and they say, okay, let's try it again this way. And then my advice is do it exactly the same way, but louder. That's what I find myself doing, like nodding, taking the note and going, hey, yeah. I thought.
I think that's part of one of Joan Rivers, like her autobiography. One of them is enter-talking, is because you create the noise from the other room. So you come in with enter-talking.
Oh, man.
Don't
that's
come in
pretty
quiet, come in and loud, so people are like, what is that? And you command all the attention.
There's a documentary called Immediate Family, which is a documentary about it's a sequel to a documentary called The Wrecking Crew, which is about the studio musicians in the 60s.
Oh, yeah, Glenn Campbell.
And all those guys.
Right?
Yeah. And it was made by this guy, Danny Tedesco, who is the son of the famous guitarist of The Wrecking Crew, Tommy Tedesco. And he made this documentary with Hal Blaine, Carole King, all these people that wrote every song that came out of Southern California in the late 60s, mid to late 60s, was all of these studio musicians. The Immediate Family is the next generation of those guys in the early 70s, all the people with Jackson Browne and Fleetwood Mac and Three Dog Night and all these people up into the 70s and 80s. And I met, because Danny's a very good friend, and I met this guy, Leland Sklar, who has his long hair, long beard, but has been on every album you've heard since 1970.
Jeez.
Was on Saturday Night Live the first night Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd did The Wild and Crazy Guys.
Oh, wow.
Because he was Jackson Brown's bassist. And they were the musical guest.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. And like, she's got to be somebody's bass. That's Leland Sklar. He's like,
whoa.
He's been in everything. He's been in every song you've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's got a switch on his bass, like a little toggle switch that does nothing. And he just has it. So when producers go, can you maybe play it a little? There you go. Hang on a minute. Okay, let's try it this way.
Oh my God.
And they always go, great. Thank you. And it's the exact
my God. God damn it. That is brilliant. Yeah. Wow.
I know, it's so great.
The like Laurel Canyon 70s, like
That's amazing,
Fleetwood Mac, all of that business.
Yeah.
Like I think the corner store, whatever the little
country store,
that place, like Mick Fleetwood pulled over to buy something, and that's when I forget who he ran into, but that's when he had the discussion about whether or not he should invite Lindsey Buckingham into the group.
Oh, I believe it. That's my neighborhood store.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of funny stories about that store. None funnier than my daughter had this running gag that it wasn't real. And whenever I would go to the store, she goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm going to the country store." "No, really, where are you going?" And then I would drive by the store to take her to school in the morning. Go, "See there?" And she goes, "Dad, I just see trees. I don't know."
Oh, that's
and
so clever.
She would put notes in my
funny.
closet. Note to self: the in quotes store is real.
that's really funny.
Yeah, no, she's so funny.
That's
and that
great.
was like Jim Morrison lived behind it.
Oh, yeah.
And my brother, who's really into that, era, that was always, he was like, "Is the country store still around?" I go, "It's still around. It's at the end of the street. We're gonna probably go there on the way home."
Wow, amazing.
We had to go to church every fucking Sunday, which drove me nuts. And one of the things that really gets under my skin is like preacher when they get real quiet. Right, because they want you to get the lesson, right?
Reverse
yelling under my skin, right? And it makes me crazy. So we had this sermon with this minister who was like a young, cool minister, but his whole sermon was he went to the Last Doors concert and how bloated Jim Morrison was and how he had a lampshade on his head and just sat at the end of the stage and staring while the band was playing, and what had drugs had just ruined his life. And I remember being a kid in church thinking like, cool. Oh my God. I would have loved to have been there. Like, that's amazing.
That's a shame that concert was wasted on that guy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I did think I sold my soul for a quarter once when I was a kid, and I called that same minister to talk me off the ledge, and he did. So
please set up what a quarter. Like, what do you mean?
I was a kid in school, and there was a honey bun for 25 cents, and I said, like The Simpsons, where Bart sells his soul, I said, I would sell my soul for a quarter, and then checked my pockets again, and there was a quarter. I was like, what did I just do? So I was legit afraid.
You might not get this reference, but Laura Kightlinger will. You know who has a great Doors concert story? Mike Donovan.
Oh my God. I was thinking about him. Mike Donovan, because I was thinking about just seeing you today and about all the comics from then and Boston accents. But he used to be on stage with his Prince Valiant haircut, if I'm not saying, quit,
with a trim comb. He cut his own hair with a trim comb.
But oh my, what was
quit.
his?
Guys, quit.
What was?
But he was doing it in a way. He wasn't calling people queer. He was making fun of people that call everybody queer.
Oh yeah, that's
guys are queer. Guys are queir.
Yeah, because he's on
5 guys on a Volkswagen call me a queer. Yeah. I'm on my way to Sally's house to get blown.
Man.
Dan Spencer would always go to, who's Sally?
Oh man, what was his Doors story?
His dad was a cop. Boston
no.
cop.
I had no
and
idea.
his dad worked when the Doors played the Boston Garden in 1968. His dad worked the concert. Yeah. And he goes, so I'm a kid, I'm 12 years old, and I'm waiting in the lobby long after the show's over because I got to leave with my dad. My dad took me to the show so I could see the show, but then I had to wait for my dad to literally lock up the Boston Garden.
Wow.
So I'm a 12-year-old kid, I'm standing there, and I look, and there's a couple people milling around the lobby, and then I look, and Jim Morrison comes walking down the hall with a girl on each arm, just like walking with his arms around these girls. And he sees me, see him, and we just kind of lock eyes. And he doesn't want me to make like a big deal because there's other people in the lobby. But he just walks up to me and he just goes, hey, man, I haven't seen you in a long time.
What? That would scare me. That would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah,
right? So it's almost like he thought maybe he was tripping and thought he was seeing himself.
That, or I think it was just being. I think it was just being funny.
Oh yeah,
hey, man,
that's funny as hell.
I waited tables forever, and when I would drop the check, or if people asked for the check, I would go, "This is the end." And only once this old man goes, "This is the end, my friend." I go, "Thank you." Nobody ever gets that reference. And he goes, "Well, I actually opened for the Doors." I go, "What?" He's having lunch with his daughter. I goes, "Well, actually, I opened for Janis Joplin, who opened for the Doors at the Cow Palace in San Francisco."
Oh,
sure.
I was like, "Tell me everything." And it was like he and his brother were in a band, and they were somehow won like a radio contest or something, so they got to open. And they were underage. I think they were 14. So they were in line at the bar, and Janis Joplin's in front of them, and she goes, "Hey boys, you want a beer?" And they weren't old enough, so she bought him a Coke, each bottle of Coke, and he still had like the bottle cap. And the Coke and things like that. I looked at his daughter, I go, "That's amazing!" And before I could finish, the dad goes, "She doesn't give a shit." I was like, "Your dad opened for
Nor
the
should
Doors?"
she.
Nor should she.
That's not her job.
I thought that was incredible, though.
My daughter is a character on The Simpsons.
Yes.
My daughter Lulu is
Yes.
Ling Bouvier, Selma Bouvier's adopted daughter from China. I wrote the episode. The design is based on my daughter's baby photo, and she's a recurring character on the show now. So the show's on, just, background show's on. And I look up, and Lulu's doing her homework, and there's Ling Bouvier, and I go, "Oh, honey, that's you." And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "No, that's you. That's the character I wrote.
Wow.
She's your baby picture. That's you." And she just goes, "Yeah, I like Bob's Burgers."
That is parenthood
the
in a funny
best.
nutshell.
Yeah, but that's her job. Doing her job.
Best.
Did you?
Doing her, not supposed to think your dad's cool.
I am obsessed and envious and jealous and amazed at your friendship with Mila and Ermi, Vampira. When we worked together, you brought it up, which I didn't even know you were friends with her. Mm-hmm. But
I always bring it up.
I would.
No, but
you've talked a lot about it.
You
before.
two have a lot in common.
So I don't want to
with TV lore
questions that you've been asked before. But okay, so you told me about your friendship.
Yeah.
But we were working, so I don't want to ask you a zillion questions, even though I did. And then I remember asking you, I go, "When's the last time you saw her?" And you said, "When I put her in the ground."
Put her in the ground.
So then I was like, "She's at Hollywood Forever."
Yeah.
So I went there, and I was like,
put her in the ground.
the first time I ever went
Ruby.
was right after we worked, because I was going intentionally to see her. And I pulled in, and it's a big place, and I was like, "I'll just park, and then I'll Google where to find her on the map."
Yeah.
And I drove in, and I parked, and when I Googled it, I went, "Oh!" And I looked out my window,
right there?
and there she was.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to move an inch.
Yeah,
It was like
I
she
wish it was a
right
bigger stone.
Will you
but we had-
will you say again who you're talking
there. Oh,
about?
Vampira, Mila Nurmi.
Her name is Mila?
Her name is Mila.
Mila Nurmi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I can't really believe is that, because you met her in like 95. Okay, Ed Wood had just come out.
Yep.
So there was a People magazine article that published her name, and I did not know her real. I just knew her as Vampira. So I took, and this is when you were becoming and her friend. I took a bag of quarters to my junior high because I didn't want to get long distance calls at home. You know what I mean? And I put all the quarters in to call information in Los Angeles.
Didn't have a number then.
Because I wanted to, I don't feel this way about famous people, but when I saw her and knew her, I was like, I want to be her friend.
Sure.
I don't know anything about it. Just me.
I don't think she had a phone till like 2000.
But you were doing that when you were living the part of the life that I wanted at that time.
That's funny.
I find that to be so remarkable.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I loved her. She was great. Also really funny and really sweet.
My favorite interview with her is where she talked about
why the quarters? Was there like a place?
It was a
payphone.
No, but I mean, you could call a number.
You had to
somewhere?
put in about $5 to call out of state just to get like information for
station to station.
Yeah.
Oh,
not a trunk call.
My mom worked at the phone company, but I still thought like
was she still at Button Willow 56421?
Yeah, I know.
I know,
Exactly.
like that's what I thought. Like like in Teen Beat and all that stuff, where they had like places you could call to hear their voice,
yes.
or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, listen. I also tried that because I tried to call. I used that to call Paula Abdul, and I ran up like $100.
Oh wow!
Because it was fake. But she has a really funny interview where she's talking about Orson Welles walking in on her, changing.
Nice carcass.
Yes, and then the interview kind of pauses, and she goes, "That's it. I won't mention anything about him giving me the clap." Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yes. But
she said to me, everybody calls him a cinematic genius, but to me, he'll always be the son of a bitch that gave me the clap on a USO tour.
Incredible. It's incredible.
That's amazing.
She also hung out with Elvis. There are photos of her with Elvis. Yes. They're not apocryphal. Hung out with Elvis when he played Vegas in '56.
Wow.
Before Hound Dog, and was James Dean's bestie.
Mm-hmm. Oh. There's interviews where she goes, I told Jimmy not to drive so fast on Sunset Plaza. Like she calls him. Is the photo of her with the bandaged man, it's after he's dead?
After it's died. The man is a friend of theirs. Mm-hmm. And they are at a Halloween party.
Yes.
But he is going as James Dean. He was their mutual friend.
Correct. So it's not like a dig. So did you create Boobarella?
No, Boobarella was created by Kevin Curran, very funny writer on the show who's since gone to heaven. But I remember that it was funny. I remember the day he came up with it. And I was friends with Mila by that point, and everybody knew I was friends with Mila because she would call. Yeah, I went up because she was my friend, and I would tell stories about. We'd go to lunch once a week, and I'd tell whatever she said, and, and so when he comes up with Boobarella, he goes, "Yeah, well, they're watching," and the joke was really funny, and I didn't come up with this joke either, and I'm ashamed of myself for not coming up with the show. They were watching the movie, and the movie was Blackula versus Black Dracula.
Wow.
Yeah. How did I not come up with that? I'm ashamed of myself.
Somebody better get this specifically.
Right.
Let's have another 2 minutes on this title. Yeah.
But he said, Boobarella. But he said, I think she should look more like Elvira.
Yes.
With the big hair and the boobs. And then he looked at me and he went, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
It's fine.
I always find this because Mila famously sued Elvira twice, I think, right?
Yeah, she got screwed, but it really wasn't Cassandra Peterson's fault. It was the people at the station.
However, my thing, because I'm a huge Charles Adams fan, I collect all his books, and Mila 100% says she saw the Charles Adams drawing in a cartoon and fashioned the costume and wore it to a party, and then boom, that's.
And there's now that photo of that party has surfaced.
Oh, it has?
Yeah. Send me. I'll send you that.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Amazing, yeah.
Because I live close to the studio where they filmed her TV show, which I love, over in Los Feliz and stuff. Yeah. But I just am so like, I love that you got to spend time with her, and what was that like?
Did she ever do a voice on the show?
No, the most she did was I took her to a couple of those celebrity autograph shows they used to have at the Beverly Garland Holiday Inn on Vineland. Mm-hmm. People loved her, and she would make cash, and once she was sitting next to Gary Busey.
Wow.
As I like to call him, Gary Drug Abusey.
Oh, yeah.
And he was being just, bananas, and Mila had a big smile on her face, and she waved me over, and I heard again, she goes, I need to move.
Oh, man.
And you have one of her fingernails,
I do,
right?
yes.
And you have a.
I mean, she gave it to me. I didn't rip it off her
right.
hand.
Well, Dana, they didn't call it a pimp back then.
Yeah.
But if it's just for autographs.
But you also have a UFO from Plan 9, right?
I have one of the models from Plan 9 and one of the models from Ed Wood. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, from the opening credits.
Yes. Yeah.
I held that and I was really afraid.
Are you
It's
serious?
spooky when you hold it in your hand.
Yeah,
Bob Burns, who gave it to me, he has a ton of props in his house. He has the armature that was King Kong, the 18-inch ball and socket armature. And
Where did he get that?
RKO Studios.
Because when Lucille Ball sold it, she sold every last thing with
Right.
it, including Star Trek.
They found in a Star Trek set under the floorboards dinosaurs and King Kong.
Wow, yeah.
And they said, who would want these? And Bob Burns collects all this stuff. Give it to Bob.
Genius.
He was a sound engineer at CBS.
Amazing.
People would, throughout his life, would give him these things. And if you go to Bob's house, and he has King Kong on the table, but he will go pick it up, hold it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold it in your hand.
You know, I was looking for a weird prop because I thought there were so many of them. I was looking for a pod from Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, that's a good
And
one.
they were like watermelons. They were this, and everybody like
Bob
carried them.
might have, I could find out.
Oh, really?
My mom always tells the story about that made her literally puke. She was in the movies watching that, and the pod people, she had to run out and she barfed in the theater.
Oh,
'Cause
wow.
it grossed out. So I would love for you to get one. We can send it to my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just obsessed with that era. I really love the Ed Wood era. I love like the fact that you get to come across all
I
that.
love Cat.
My wife just said, "Are you all having fun without me?"
Oh, this is so great. This is what I was thinking about. Why this is like kind of such a good time in life for me, anyway, is that I'm alive, but also that like my friends, I like their spouses. I mean, like I love Kat, your wife, but it's like when you start out in stand up, and this is what I'm still bringing it back to Drake Sather. You'd always, if you have to go to a gig or do something, or you drive with somebody, and then you'd get their girlfriend, you get their boyfriend, you get somebody on the phone you didn't want to talk to. And I think it was Drake, or maybe it was you, who said, you call and then you get their girlfriend or their spouse on the phone. You go, "Oh, hi, is Bob there?" "No." Can I talk to the answering machine?"
That was Drake.
Yeah, because I was just like this. I'm like, because now I feel like,
Can I talk to the answering machine?
yeah, all the comics that I know now, like I really like their spouses too. Like it's fun to be around all of them.
Yep, that's true. Drake had a story. I think it sounded fake, but it was true because we lived pretty close to each other, and we went on the road together a lot. And he told the story, and it sounds like a sweaty joke, but he only tells it because it really happened. He lived off Olympic. He lived on Olympic.
Right.
And one day he's knocking on the door, and he opens the door. He goes, "This is this little guy," and he goes, "Can I use your bathroom?" And before Drake had a chance to ask me, the guy goes, "I have diarrhea." and Drake goes, "Oh, I thought you just had to urinate. But if you're going to have explosive diarrhea, by all means, come here."
Oh, jeez, I remember that. I remember him telling that.
"If you're going to blow shit all over my bathroom, entree new."
It's an emergency. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. God.
Dear man.
Do you like performing stand up?
Oh, yeah, I love it.
It's still something
Love
you
it,
love?
yeah.
I feel like it's like a 360 almost. Like you love it, you're excited about it at first, then it becomes like a real, just a race to the finish, and then if you stop for a bit, you start liking it again.
100%. And like I have two, like you probably have the same situation. I have two careers. Like I have my writing career, which is how I support myself and my children and my family. And then I have my stand-up career, which I just do for fun.
Yeah.
And I do it because I love it. And I go on the road and I do specials and stuff, but it doesn't pay for my life.
Yeah.
And my lit agents are like, "Do you still do that? Do you go out on the road still?"
Yeah.
They're like, because nor should they. It's not their job. It's not their, they don't, and they don't care. And I was telling my lit agent, about Hanging with Dr. Z,
which is a phenomenal, hilarious show, and you got to watch it. Yeah.
What? That's you? Because like to them, it's like I don't. They've got bigger fish to fry. We're trying to find the next guy to write Thor.
Yeah.
You have a Planet of the Apes obsession? Is that right?
I do.
Or wrong?
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the Tim? I know it's old school, but
I don't like the Tim Burton one at all. But I really like the newer ones, the Matt Reeves ones.
Okay.
I'm excited about the new one.
Yeah, I'm so territorial when a classic is remade or something because I don't understand why anybody has to touch it.
Yeah, the new ones they're different. It's a different animal, no pun intended. I think Tim Burton is a genius.
Sure, me too.
And only a genius could get that movie so perfectly wrong. It would take a genius to make a movie about a planet of apes with a vast budget and make it boring.
Oh man, is that the one that Mark Wahlberg?
Markson, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. This I have to profess a kind of a little bit of an obsession with Planet of the Apes because when I heard that was happening, I called my agent and said, "Is there any ape that I could play?" And they said, "Well, you could, but you're going to be in a costume. You're going to be in a desert. You're going to be sweating your fucking ass off in a costume. Do you really want to do that?" And then I said, "No." I'm too much of a princess
diva,
to be an extra in an ape concert.
Well, Dr. Z came from me wanting to be in the makeup. It started out in the Ben Stiller show. We didn't get a chance to do it because we got canceled. But I just wanted to be in the makeup and see what it was like, and that's how the whole thing happened.
I think I told you this, Dana. On Saturday Night Special, which there were only 6 episodes, I wanted to do Zira, and I got to wear Kim Hunter's muzzle. As it were. I don't know if we ever decided, because the guy that's doing your makeup now, I think, is the same person, right?
Could have been. The makeup is designed so that you can follow the numbers and put it on.
Oh, okay.
Because when they did the movie, they had to have every makeup artist in Hollywood, and other productions slowed down because they couldn't get makeup people because they were all on Planet of the Apes.
Oh, wow.
And the guy that designed it, John Chambers, the guy that John Goodman played in the movie Argo, designed it in such a way that it's paint by numbers, it's glue by numbers. You follow because what he didn't want is people giving it their own personal touches. Because he wanted them all to look uniform.
Right.
So it was just like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you're done. 2.5 hours, go.
Yeah.
And then he would work them for like 2 weeks before they ever turned a camera. Put it on, take it off. Put it on, take it off.
Oh, man. Yeah. Because I always thought, too, like with something like that, and because, and this is slightly not related, but I love John Hurt so much. And, I was thinking like when he had the makeup on for the Elephant Man, the cast thing that he had, the prop or whatever, the prosthetic, I should say, that was on his head weighed 20 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
So it was like the Elephant Man because when he leaned back, he couldn't lay back because he would like twist his neck or sprain his neck.
Yeah. Same with David Merrick, right?
And so then I was thinking like
Mel Brooks produced that movie.
Oh, that's right. And then with Planet of the Apes, like to get all that stuff on and then you forget your line. Like, I wonder what that, because I feel like I forget everything. Like,
I thought
doctor. Oh, come on, Bright Eyes. And, okay, line. Fucking asshole. We've been here 20. Yeah.
I always thought it was that. I always was amazed that the horses didn't freak out.
Oh, my God.
Do horses not care that you're a gorilla?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Ooh.
Yeah. Same with the Ku Klux Klan's horses. Are these ghosts?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, but the Dr. Z thing is really fun because it's not me. So I've always been so envious of Paul Rubens.
Oh yeah.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But like to have a character that was not you, that you kind of do stuff
and just put it on.
Yeah, and then you're you. Then you're done. You have your life and you go.
Well, I saw you as Dr. Z on a TCM, I guess it was
with Ben Mankiewicz.
and that was so amazing because you were in character and you were answering questions, and you were Dr. Z, who is also in Dana's version. Dr. Z is kind of an old Hollywood.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's evolved. It's evolved into Sammy Davis.
Yeah,
Jr.
like you're like a brat packer.
Yeah, he's
a rat
just
packer,
like in the new season. There's a thing where Jason Alexander. I'm interviewing Jason Alexander. We're talking about the William Shatner roast, and he does a very Sammy thing where he goes, "Where's my camera? Bill?"
Oh,
When you hear this stuff, he points to his heart. It comes from here. It comes from the cat upstairs to here to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. William Shatner. Pick up the phone.
That's amazing. I had no idea. Well, that's what makes it so hilarious
totally
too.
Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah.
There's footage of like a full Rat Pack show. I feel like it's in like St. Louis, Missouri or something. But it's black, right? And Sammy Davis is essentially the host, and he has this whole set, and then he brings out everyone. But he does an impression of every member of the.
And he's really good.
And he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's really good.
It's
He
so
does
good.
Dean Martin and everyone.
He does them all, and it's really. But there's here's Lucy Ball's 70s television show.
Yep.
There's rehearsal footage of it, which is fascinating because who's Elizabeth Taylor's husband, Richard Burton. He wrote 4 scathing pages about Lucille Ball in his book about what a charmless monster she was and things, and how bossy she is on set. Well, roll the fucking footage, Richard. She's like, we need to be on our mark, and he goes, I would if you just get out of the way. And without blinking, she's like, that's not the point, dear. So there's like a lot happening. There's a lot happening. But the Sammy Davis Jr. stuff is fascinating because she's giving him line reads. He can't. She has cards. Do you know what I mean? But he can't get through the line, and she's trying to finish the sentence for him. She's telling him how to take a turn. He's going through like saloon door things. Do your turn sooner, Sammy. And now Sammy, and she just calls him first name all the time. And then in the middle of it all, 69, 70. Off camera, you hear, oh, goddamn, they're giving the minorities a break. And in walks Desi Arnaz. And Sammy Davis sits down and hammers on the thing. And divorced Lucille Ball gets out of the way. And they have this quick shake hand. And then Lucy goes back to work. So Sammy goes back to work. And then Desi goes, oh, I guess there's no breaks then. And leaves.
Whoa, is this on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
You have to turn it up so you can hear him. But it's like watching Sammy take direction from her, who's not the director,
right?
And kind of get and then see the respect he gives Desi Arnaz and stuff like that.
Wow.
But yeah, it's really fascinating because then Sammy Davis comes out and you see the a little speech he gives at the end of the episode.
So when he says giving minorities a break, he's kidding.
Yes.
Oh,
because they have the guest star is a black man.
Yeah, right. I know.
And he was Cuban. He was the
yeah. Oh, I know. I guess I was just thinking, like, for a second, like that he didn't see that it was Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, no. That was the whole, and I think only he could interrupt the work that way, right? I don't think anybody else could have interrupted her in the middle of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But she is definitely, there's a moment where she stops everything and goes, what camera is he working in right now? And they go, this one. She goes, and that's what I thought. And that ain't right. And she looks right in the camera. It's really kind of rough.
Wow.
And then you see her reset. She grabs his forearm and she's looking. I'm like, okay. And then she goes back to Lucy. It's fucking wild.
Wow. No, she was a machine. I mean, she was a brilliant woman.
Yeah, I'm into it. You see her talking to the cameraman and the lighting guy.
Yeah.
And she doesn't blink. It's like, she's like, what causes the shadows? And then he says something and she's like, well, why was it different 20 years ago when we invented it? Like, it's really, those not verbatim.
Well, but it's true, though. They did invent the bolt. And the DP that did it with them was a guy, Carl Freund.
Yep.
Who shot
Dracula
with Bela Lugosi.
Jeez.
And the good
directed Mark of the Vampire.
Grapes of Wrath or some shit like that.
Probably.
Oh, he did direct Mark of the Vampire.
Wow. And why does that make me think of R. Freeling and with first cartoons with
Patey Freeling, Fritz Freeling?
Yeah, he started the Looney Tune cartoons that had famous people in them. They're
oh yeah, like the Marx Brothers would be in it. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Or like the caricature looking.
Yeah.
Frank Tashlin?
I don't know.
Tom Kenny would know.
Yeah, we'll get him on the phone. But anyway,
get Tom Kenny on the horn.
we love you.
They really fast. They called Carl Freund to work on I Love Lucy when he was working for the CIA, and they had him they were trying to get a camera small enough that it could go inside you.
Oh wow!
And that's what I think he was working on when they called him off.
The reason John Goodman played John Chambers in Argo was John Chambers, the makeup artist who designed the makeup for Planet Apes, also worked for the CIA.
Whoa.
Designing quick disguises for secret agents in the field and for people that they would have to get out of Eastern Europe. Like they had a system, like the guy could walk into a room, into a store. Like if they had a guy that they're trying to get out of the country and they knew they're being watched by the Stasi, they could walk into a store and have like an over-the-head mask and an overcoat and get that guy. And then the new guy would walk out of the store in like 30 seconds.
Wow.
So it was clearly not the guy that walked into the store.
What if they get
they're waiting for the first guy to come out and they realize we fucking lost him?
What if they get their briefcases mixed up and they actually have a Planet of the Apes mug and they're trying to get out? I recognize you.
It's just a chimpanzee. We're fine. It's just a chimp.
That's a chimp. Wait a minute. That's how they used to do. No, he just they do the double take.
That is hilarious.
Oh, anywho. Dana Gould, where can people see you live and all this stuff? Let's do your plug before we...
Well, the thing that I'd plug is Hanging with Dr. Z. Season 3 is on YouTube now.
Yay!
Hanging with Dr. Z.
Which is
really
hilarious. It's so
easy.
I love it.
It's very fun. It's very stupid.
It's brilliant.
Then all my stuff is I'm Dana Gould on all platforms.
Dana Gould on all platforms. So we can
check me out.
People can find out. Even your agents can find out where.
My agents can find out. Yeah. All my gigs, all my stuff is on my website, danagould.com or Instagram. Right.
That's so good.
It is funny. So you still do the clowning on the road? You're on the circuit? Hang on.
Dan, yeah.
It's the letter M on line 2. I'll be right with them.
God almighty.
Yay. This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dana.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.